in the period between 2019 and 2021, the percentage of people living under the poverty line in India reduced from 25% to 15%. 135 million individuals escaped poverty, Indians. So the country was able to pick a total of 135 million people from poverty, from living below the poverty line. That is $2.15. And they have been able to take that out of from meager, like extreme poverty, to people who are able to take care of themselves. 135 million people is like twice the population of a country like Kenya. But within 3 years, India was able to take them out of the poverty or below the poverty line. And I looked and I thought to myself, what has been happening? Because between 1990 and 2014, the world made massive progress towards reducing the poverty or extreme poverty. And we moved from 37.8% in 1990 of poor people to 11.2% in 2014. And of course, after that, there was a lag, and on and on and on things have happened because of wars and so many things happening. But what made me think about doing this video is because when I look at the regions, and now you look at the graphs that I'm going to share here, when I look at the regions, there are some regions which look like they are making tremendous inroads into reducing poverty, where others are simply stagnating, and with only one region that has increased in poverty, and that is North Africa and Middle East. Of course, you know why. Wars and what happened, Gaddafi and all those kind of things. Of course, they increased poverty, people. Then, there is the region called sub-Saharan Africa, which has reduced the poverty, but marginally, very marginally, not so big. Cannot be compared with other regions like East Asia and South Asia. Let me tell you, the global poverty reduction by 2035 shows that globally, poverty will have reduced from 10.8% in the year 2015, to a mere 6.8% by 2030 or 2030, between 2030 and 2035. It will have reduced to that. And the region called Sub-Saharan Africa, poverty will have reduced from 38% to 30%, a mere 8% in reduction, progression. Well, in the Latin America and the Caribbean, they expect, World Bank, these are reports from World Bank, they expect that poverty will have reduced from 4.2 in 2015 to 2.9% in 2030. Then, in Europe and Central Asia, poverty will have reduced from 3.2% in 2015 to a mere 1.2% in 2030. In East Asia and the Pacific, poverty will have reduced we're talking from between 2015 and 2030, in 15 years' time, will have reduced from 2.7% to 0.4%. East Asia, we're talking about China, South Korea, what else are there? Japan and all that, yeah? That is East Asia. In South Asia, poverty will have reduced from 16.7% to 2.1% in South Asia. And finally, we talked about Sub-Saharan Africa. We talked about Europe, Europe and Central Asia, where poverty will have reduced from 3.2 to 1.2, and all that. The fact is that if you look at the reasons why every other region, apart from North Africa and Middle East, are reducing, is because of leadership. But the margin by which they are reducing is caused by lack of good progression by the leaders themselves. The reason why East Asia has managed and is managing to do that is because they created industries that are selling to the world. That is manufacturing. They created things like service industry in South Asia. You are always going to India for medical treatment, right? What do you think you're doing? You're taking money to them, and they welcome you with open hands and very happy and smile at you. But that's what they're doing. They're reducing their poverty, and they are buying things from China, from South Korea, from Japan. That is how they are reducing their poverty, almost to zero. Almost to zero. Now, Sub-Saharan Africa, on the other hand, instead of thinking in that direction, it looks like the leadership is hell-bent on selfish gains more than communal gain. And when this happens, then poverty, it will be the only region in the world that its poverty is expected to have remained at 30% by the year 2035. We need to think. The leadership of Africa needs to think. We need to think twice. Individual countries need to think. You cannot have 30% of your population be living under poverty and expect things to be normal. Things are going to be very tough. And I know people are hardworking. But if the environment is not conducive enough, people will keep moving away from those countries. And as they move away from those countries, what happens is that there's brain drain. And these are the people that would have been entrepreneurs, would have brought more jobs, would have reduced poverty, but you're allowing them to go away. It's a wake-up call to Africa. Let's be left behind. Currently, Africa is being left behind in the trade wars because they have nothing much to offer apart from the minerals. They can be bullied here and there by the US and China and others. But if they had a strong leadership, then we would have reaped big from this trade war that is happening right now. Those are just my thoughts. My name is Gishore Irungu. If you've not subscribed to this channel, please do. In here, we just discuss things that have to do with personal development, finance, and economics. Just to update ourselves on what is happening around the world and around us. It will always affect you individually. Adios.